Well, hey there, everyone, and welcome to the Rental Result Hidden Gems webinar today. My name is Stephen Tripp on the communications team here at Win Systems, and I am thrilled to have you all here today. Before we dive into the webinar, I wanted to cover just a handful of things. The more we interact in today's webinar, the more you're going to get out of this session. So if you have any questions or anything like that during the webinar, feel free to hit the raise your hand icon there, or put something into the Q&A. We'll also be watching the chat. Jimmy, who's presenting today, will be busy as all get out there. So Madeline and I will keep an eye on the chat and interrupt Jimmy with any questions or what have you that might come through there. To tailor today's presentation a little bit, we did want to kick off with a quick poll, and you can take a second to answer these questions, but they would just help us understand and help Jimmy tailor that presentation. But while everyone's filling that out, I just wanted to introduce Jimmy Wilcock today. Jimmy joined our team about 6 years ago. In his role as a customer success manager, he is central to the growth and development of our key products, Rental Result and Equip Flows. Prior to Win, Jimmy worked for 13 years in the construction industry, leading a team of 20 at the rental desk, or hire desk, as he calls it in the UK, and managing a diverse range of equipment from the smallest tools all the way up to large cranes. He has absolutely done it all. In his spare time, he's a DJ and helps manage a record label. For those of you who logged on earlier, that mix that was playing in the background, that was Jimmy's creative work right there. So he's truly a multi-talented individual. We're lucky to have him on the call today. So, as I hand it over to Jimmy, I just wanted to look at the polls that's coming in here, and let's see. So I'll end that poll and sort of share the results out there. So Jimmy, we actually seem to have like a pretty diverse audience. Like most of the group here has been in the system for 1 to 3 years, with a few under a year and a few over that 3-year stretch there. So, and folks are spending, it looks like they're spending a good amount of time. Most people are spending, more than 2 hours in the control center a day. So I think we have some good users here with some good questions.
Oh, that is excellent. Steve, thank you very much for the introduction. Warm welcome to everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from around the world today. And that's really interesting, that the output of the poll. So thank you again for taking the time just to answer those questions. So I think kind of analysing that, today's session, we're going to take a look at some of the hidden gems. And for those of you that have been using the system for, say, 1 to 3 years, I would still class that as, being quite a short amount of time, given the size of the product and the industry that we work in. So I think today we'll be able to show you some hidden tips and some cool features that you may be able to go back and make use of in the businesses that you all work in. So that said, let's dive straight in and have a look at what we're going to cover today in this hidden gems session. So really, we devised this session to just raise awareness of the some of the features and in the products that you are accustomed to using on a day-to-day basis. And for those of you, so back to the poll again, that are spending more than 2 hours in the control center a day, out of a 7.5, 8-hour day, that's quite a substantial amount of time. So being able to make use of some of the hints and tips will be hugely beneficial to all of you out there. So it really came about from some conversations we've had in the past. So over the past 12 months, we come out, we do over the shoulders, we have lots of teams, customer success meetings. We also have had the Solution Summit recently, where a lot of people have said to us, we want to be able to do things faster. The business is growing. We want to be able to scale with that growth. And certainly, from my own observations, I've been on many customer success calls, and I've been sharing the screen, and I've been navigating through the system quite rapidly. I haven't used the system for kind of 10 years. now. And people on multiple occasions have said, "Well, Jimmy, stop what you're doing. Can you go back and show me that?" And I'll go back and I'll do it again. And they went, "Oh, cool. I didn't know that existed." And for me, these things, I do this in my sleep, day in, day out, these kind of quick, helpful tips in the system. And it's not apparent that everybody knows that they exist. So that's really what we're trying to achieve today, is to raise awareness of some of those little features that are going to help you in your day-to-day. And then, so I'll do there's 3 quick fire ones, so quite quick and quite simple, that we'll get through quite quickly. And then there's 2 that we're going to put a bit of a spotlight under, and that's important lines from a spreadsheet, and also being able to create customer query calls. So as I go through, everything will become apparent. And then towards the end, we will open the lines up, and I'll gladly take any questions that you've got and hopefully try and answer them as best as I can for you. So let's dive straight in to our first hidden gem. So unlocking column widths from within tables within rental result. So you'll know within rental result, we have lots of tables and control centers. They exist in most of the modules that we have in the product. And a lot of people spend a lot of time in these type of environments in the system. So imagine, if you're spending 2 hours a day within this control center, you'd like the look and feel and the navigation of it to be, as slick and as quick and as easy to use as possible. So although this one may seem quite trivial, with the inclusion of more columns to the tables in the database and the increased use of the control centers, you may want to customize the look and feel of your own table views. So this is individual users being able to differentiate the sizing of the columns in the system. So, and to show you what that means, as you can see on the screen, there's lots of columns, lots of rows. So essentially, from a right-click action, so within the table itself, if you were to perform a right-click action here, you can see we have an option to unlock the column widths. So now you can see this frees us up to adjust the column sizing. And where you have these columns where the width isn't quite wide enough to view, you can start to open and close them to suit. Because not everyone uses the control center in the same way, some columns may be more important than others. So for example, the supplier and the purchase order fields may be super important to those of you that utilize the system for, let's say, re-rents, but others may not do re-rents at all. So minimizing those columns if they're in view allows you to expand others, and that's okay. We want to be able to give you the option to do that. So we understand that some information may be more valuable to others, and you can own that individually by unlocking the column widths. And if you want to reset the column widths, it's a right-click action and hit the reset. As you can see there, it literally just puts them back to the default view. So that's one that hasn't really been spoken about a lot. Not a lot of people have spoken about it a lot, but not a lot of people know it was there. So we have had conversations where we've let people know that it's there, and they've gone off and they say, "Oh yeah, I'd like to be able to see a little bit more of this address." So that's our hidden gem number 1 for today. So moving on, we'll take a look at our quickfire hidden gem number 2. So this is filter rows, and this I think is probably one of my hidden gem favorites in the system. I use this feature all the time. So the software has many applications that produces tables of data, as I've said before, the control centers and these tables of data. And on the screen, you can see this is the main contracts control center. It has a search limit of 2,000 records. That's a lot of data to be able to analyze in one go. There's absolutely no way any humans on the planet will want to physically sift through 2,000 records of data. So what we've done, and it has been in the system for quite a long time, is introduce a filter row feature. What this allows you to do is basically do a text search. So as you can see, is my control center. I'm bringing back about 1,000 records on this particular view, and you can see there's rows and rows and rows of data, rows of information, different statuses of assets. So from a right click, the first option in the table is filter rows, and you can see that opens up a search bar above the table itself. So I can start to use that. I can put an asset number in, I can put a project number in, I can put a description of an asset in, and it will refine that search down to just what I'm searching for, and I can get to the information a lot quicker. So again, that's a right-click action. It's the top item in the search, and it's filter rows. If you're not using that feature today, I highly recommend you make most use of it, because it really does make a difference to my day. And like I said, you can search for anything. You can search for E-code, you can search for addresses, text, anything you like. If it exists in that table, it will appear in that search. Okay, so moving on to our quickfire hidden gem number 3. And this is another cool feature. And I know this could be quite subjective, and I have lots of conversations around the use of shortcuts in the system. This is Control and M. I absolutely love this feature. I grew up learning this system with Control and M. It allows me to navigate anywhere and any module in the system quickly and efficiently. So renter result of quick flows has been built from the ground up from, I think, 1998 onwards. So naturally, as the ERP has grown, the amount of features that we've introduced into the product has grown exponentially with it. And over that time, the amount of features available to us is vast, especially for those of you on the webinar today that are super users. You may have access to all of those features in the top toolbar that you can see, the widget bar at the top of the screenshot there. So as you can see from the main launcher, we have options and that lead us to options and submenus. I know some people like to search this way so they know exactly where things are in the system, but as time goes on, you get used to where those items are in the system. A quick Control and M on the keyboard allows us to open up a quick search, and it allows us to put a command in and take us to a specific area of the system quicker than toggling through some of the items. A little known feature as well is if I'm in, say, a rental contract or sales contract, I can hit the Control and M as well from within that document and say I need to get some information from item holding. I can Control and M from within that document, and I can go straight to item holding. I can look up an asset, I can open it up, I can get the information I need from within that database, and I can cancel out of that, and I can go straight back to my rental document and start completing that order. So again, another little known fact, the Control and M, great little tool, great little feature, just to help you manage your day a little bit better, manage and traverse and navigate through the system as quickly and easy as possible. Okay, so let's move on to one of the spotlighted hidden gems today. So this is importing lines from a spreadsheet. Again, I wanted to highlight this one, especially on conversations I've had with a lot of people, some of you on the call today. And this is, how can we speed up processes in the system? How can I create multiple contracts a day? The business is growing, we're scaling with that growth. We need to be more nimble in how we're processing in orders and contracts. So the importing lines from a spreadsheet feature is designed to do just that. It is a really quick way to enter lines into the system, into an order. And if I navigate out of my presentation here, and we can go to let's go to our control center. In fact, let's go back to the main launcher. I'm actually going to demonstrate this in real time here and show you exactly what I mean. So I'll give you the example and the reason why this feature has been developed and added into the solution. We have multiple customers that create contracts which are multiple lines. So they're not single line orders, they're multiple line orders. And some of those lines can be in excess of 100. They could be 300. We've had some customers that have put 500 lines on a contract. And this will work for rental contracts, sales contracts. There isn't a definitive cutoff in terms of the transactions which you can use this feature for. So when you navigate through to, and I'm using in this example a sales contract, I've got a blank open panel screen here. This is where we start to enter our lines in to build up the building blocks of our contract or our order. And if I'm sitting on a quote here and there's 300 lines, if I'm entering them in manually, it's going to take me about 30 seconds a line to enter those in by the time I've put the quantity, the rate, the date, and some other pertinent information that the business would like to track. It's going to take me a long time to create this order. You know, we could be talking 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, depending on the size of that order. So at the top of the widget bar, here you can see the nice turquoise button that says add lines to the current document from an external source. And this is so simple to use, and the formatting is really simple as well. So from a spreadsheet, any spreadsheet, all you need to do is enter in an item code, a quantity, and a price. Okay, there is also another option to add an item code, a quantity, a required date, a shipping date, and a price. And we've improved this feature recently to include any customers that are using line level dates. So this feature will now work with anyone that's working with or without line level date information. So the expected formatting for this is item, quantity, required date, shipping date, and price. The item code, the quantity, and the required date are mandatory fields. So you will need to, for this to work, you would need to have those three pieces of information on your spreadsheet. The shipping date is optional, as I mentioned. And if you don't provide the shipping date, the system uses the required date. So you do have to put a required date on an order. Every time the system will always ask you for that. So it will just pull the information through and use that from a logical standpoint. The price is optional. If you don't provide the price, that's okay. The system uses the current system price. If you add the price in on the spreadsheet, the system will pick that price up and use that as an override. And then I'll show you in a moment how we can override that with a reason code. So if you don't submit the price, it will default to the specific price list that you have applied to your specific project vendor, whichever transaction type you're using. But if you do supply the price, then you must also supply the shipping date as well. So I will just demonstrate how we do that. And this is really simple. So this is just some test data that I've added into my demonstration system. And all I've done, highlighted the data set that I want to copy, done a right-click copy. If you're whiz on spreadsheets, Control-C. And then if I navigate back to my document, there we go, and I hit the import lines feature. If I'm overriding the price, then I can pick from a drop-down selector. And again, those reason codes are customizable, so you can make them whatever you want to make them. I'm just going to say my manager's approved this. And then I'm going to hit the import button. So what the system's doing here is it's actually reading from my local clipboard. So as soon as I copy that data to the clipboard from the spreadsheet, my computers and my renter result equip flows system is going to read that, and it's going to validate those lines on this screen. So you can see there it's validated the item codes, it's validated the quantity, the required date, the shipping date, and the price, and it hasn't returned any problems. So it's said, okay, so my current status is ready. So all I need to do at that point is hit the process button. And you can see in the background, if I just move this screen down a little bit, those lines are now automatically importing from that spreadsheet. So we've just taken probably a contract that may take 10 to 15 minutes to complete, maybe a bit longer, depends on how how fast everyone is on the keyboard, and we've taken that down to just seconds. So this is one of those features that I don't think is currently being utilized a lot out in the field. And I'd certainly love to talk to anybody a bit more about this and how we can implement this in your businesses to make your lives a lot easier. I know it's not easy to know what is going to be required or requested. So some of the examples are, if we know we're buying bulk equipment from vendors and we use this as a sales order or a purchase order, we can have the conversations with the vendors up front. We get a quote. We can use a template for those quotes to come in and then import those from there. Other conversations we've had where this is actually being used is around project startups, where there is a predefined set of project startup equipment. And these could be stock, bulk, or e-coded items. And you can add them onto that spreadsheet and import those in. So we can actually, the mobilization of new projects could actually be sped up in terms of the contract creation through the use of this feature.
Hey, Jimmy, we actually have a question that came in from Tahani. She asked, is the import line from spreadsheet only available in Core, or is it available for users in Portal?
Yep, that's a great question. So this is a feature currently that has been developed and implemented in Core. I like the idea of being able to upload a spreadsheet from the job site portal. So, that's something we can talk about in an upcoming CSM call or offline around gathering some more information and some more requirements about, would you want it to work the same as you see in here in Core, and just some of the nuances around how you can manage that. But yeah, great question. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to navigate now back to our presentation, and we will move on to hidden gem number 5. And this is the ability to create customer query calls in our mobile job site portal application. Now, just a little bit of context around this feature. This is a feature that has existed in the desktop classic version for a while now. So those of you that use our job site portal application will know that you can submit a query in against a specific piece of equipment or an asset. And you're able to electronically send a query into the facility to say, my excavator's broken down, send some help, that type of thing. So we've actually extended that feature out to the mobile job site portal, but we've also untethered it from equipment that's currently out on rent. So let's actually go in and do a little bit of a live demonstration of that. So on screen now, you can see my, this is my mobile job site portal view, and I'm in my equipment list. So this is everything that's out on rent to my project currently. As you can navigate and look around on the screen, you can see on the left-hand side, I've got some, in the very first column, I've got some items that say open query against them. So essentially, what you can do with that is you can highlight your line. And this is, again, available in the mobile job site portal, as I mentioned. So if you've got, you're working off a cell phone, you're working off an iPad, tablet, this is available to you on the go. And it opens up. So from that click, it opens up and activates some additional features to us at the bottom of the screen. So you can see that there's an option there that says query, and I now have an option to add a query in against that asset type, or I can view. So if I click on the view, you can see that I've now got some history building up about my my particular query. So in this instance, I've set this up to say, hey, my excavator's broken down. It got reversed onto. Oh dear. And then you can see I've followed that up with another note to say, hey, it's just happened again, the other side got hit. So we've got a job site that seems to be pretty disastrous currently. So this just demonstrates that we're able to use this as almost like a bit of a CRM type functionality. So you've got updates going in, time and date stamped, who's done what, when have they done it, and what have I said. And then we've got we can also track the conversations coming back from the facility to the job site to let them know what's happening. So we're trying to avoid, these whispers where information gets missed in translation. We're trying to avoid offline conversations on emails, WhatsApp, text, and telephone. We're trying to centralize all of this information. So we've got all of the evidence, everything that we need to try and methodically work through a particular scenario. So we have a history field in there as well. So you can actually dive in and see the exact text exchange between the field and the equipment facility. So you can see from the bottom up to the top. So newest message always appears on the top. I'll start off, hey, my excavator's broken down. It got reversed into by a big articulated truck. Can you send someone out here to take a look? And then we've updated that to say, oh dear, we'll get someone out to you by 4 p.m. tomorrow. So you can see how this is starting to work. And I'll show you also how this ties back into the to the main control center as well. But just to show it in action, how quick it is, you can highlight an item. We can hit the query button again. I'm not going to view it this time. I'm going to add. So I'm going to add a new query to this particular piece of equipment. So it will automatically pull through your project details. You won't need to worry about re-entering information that the system already knows. And the first thing I need to do is create a query type. So that query type, again, is user customizable. You can create your own list. We do have some people using the system from a sales CRM type functionality. We also have people using it from a sales perspective as well. Sorry, a service perspective as well. So for breakdowns of equipment. So I am going to, for this one, I'm going to call this a damage. And I can also create a priority. So it's automatically set on a default to say next status on this is awaiting action. So it's awaiting somebody at the facility to pick this up and do something with it. And the priority, I've defaulted mine to urgent, having come from the construction industry. And I know everybody out there today, if you're working in construction, everything's urgent. Whenever you talk to anybody, any of your colleagues out on the job sites, everything is always urgent, needed to be done yesterday. But you can also create priority types as well. So is it low, medium, high priority? Is it catastrophic? We need someone out of in the next hour. You create again that listing, that priority listing. And then I can add a description in here. So I'm just going to say, you're not going to believe this. It's happened again. Been run over by the same truck. There we go. So we can actually send that and submit that into the facility. System's going to tell you, here's a call reference number, something to reference back to, and that will sync back into the history notes here. So if you wanted to go back and look for updates, the system will notify that, and you can open the query up and view it. So there we go.
I wanted to jump in one more time with another question. We have a question. Is that request chat functionality available offline when there's no internet access?
Currently not in the mobile job site portal, because I think if you lose cellular connectivity, I think you will lose access to job site portal, because it's instead of mobile job site portal being an app in its own right, it's actually a web URL. So I suspect if you lose connectivity, you may have an issue accessing the application itself until you come back to connectivity, or you come back to Wi-Fi range.
And one more follow-up question to that. Is it planned to integrate into an app?
Currently not, but I would be glad and happy to talk to anybody separately around the benefits of doing so, and also the benefits of having an offline version as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you. Okay, so I will show you where these land in the core application. just so we can book in and you can see it from the equipment facilities standpoint and how that works. But before I do that, I just wanted to show you the untethered version that we've implemented and added into the system recently. So this one's really cool, and this is something we've had conversations with a lot of customers about recently. And this is the menu, the hamburger menu at the top right-hand side. You can see we've also got that same log query feature appearing in that hamburger menu up there. And this is us untethering this particular feature from any asset which is currently out on rent. So we're just going to create a call, create a query, and we're going to submit it in. So again, we're trying to reduce the amount of offline conversations that are taking place outside of the system. So that, again, the phone calls, the emails, the WhatsApps, the Facebook messengers, all of that goes on out in the industry, trying to bring it all back in-house. So I have a form. This is all free form now, so the amount of information that I may need to add in may be a little bit more, because we're not tying this to a project with that type query. When we're not tying it to a piece of equipment, we need to let whoever's receiving this on the other end know where we're at, where we're working, who we are, and what our problem is. So I mentioned before that we may have different types of inquiries that we want to make from the field back into the facility, and this is one of the ways in which we can now do that. So I'm going to use this one to say I'm going to follow up on a quote. So the stats will automatically come into open. Again, we can work with the workflows and how this works. And the priority is now going to be set to a quote chase. So I can assign this to me, and in the description I can say, hey, had a rep out from the crane company. They sent you the quote. As it arrived, need to move forward. ASAP. Okay. So again, different query types. Doesn't have to be specific to equipment that's already out on rent. Can be anything, any interaction that you have with the field, bringing it back in the system in a light CRM type manner. Again, it's going to give you a call reference number. We can set templates up, and you can receive emails for this as well. So from that query, and this is where I will just dive in and show you from the main core applications perspective. I'll just take down this for a moment.
Jimmy, I got a couple quick questions.
Yep.
One might be about the importing lines demo, but I could be wrong. Matt is asking, is import lines available on PO?
It is, yes.
Okay. And then another question from Matt, is it possible to use configurator scripts as call type on a query?
I believe so. I'd probably just need to get a little bit more information around how Matt would like that to work. So if we can make a note, and then maybe I can connect with Matt afterwards and we can have a chat about that.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so in the core application, actually, I'm just going to go back a stage and show you that under the rental and sales module, there is a customer service feature, and if we use Control and M, we can we can search for it this way as well. So the customer service feature, again, is another control center. It's another place where filter rows appears, so you can use filter rows here as well. It's another place where you can do Control and M and get back to the main launcher screen as well. But this is, again, another control center where we receive those specific inquiries coming in, those queries coming in from the field. So you can see here, that one I just created is now appearing. So if I just put my filter rows on again, and I put sales in my filter rows, I can actually do a search on that and find the information or the inquiries that are coming through based on sales quotes. So if I find the one I just created, I can open that up and I can get to the call details, and I can look at the chase up on the quote. And this is where you can now interact back with the field. So you can say, hey, got the quote, creating PO today. There we go. And we can, the next, again, so from a workflow perspective in the system, you can actually kick on from here and create a quote, create a contract. If you're working on queries relating to equipment breakdowns, the list in here would be different. So if I just show you that, you can go excavator or damage, type in damage. Okay, maybe not. So basically what I can do is open up that one. You're not going to believe this has happened again. And you can see in the next actions, I've got different options. So I can go and swap it out. I can go and pick it up and say, you're clearly not looking after my equipment. You're not having it anymore. And I can also navigate and push this through into a work order. So from a workflow perspective, we now have the ability to record from the very first inception of that conversation. I have a problem, all the way through to workflowing it through to a quote, to a contract, to a work order in the system. So just wanted to kind of finish up and show you how that kind of hangs in the system. So hopefully what I've been able to show you today with the kind of 5 little hidden gems has been useful. If anybody would like to ask any questions, I'm sure we can now head over to open the lines up, guys, and Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jimmy, for leading the Hidden Gems webinar. We've got a few questions in already, and they look like a lot of them are about the importing lines demonstration.
Okay.
So let's start. We have, can you still use import lines feature if you're not using line level D?
Yes, you can. So I think, as I mentioned during the demonstration, there's 2 options. So you don't need to, if you're not using line level dates, then you really just need to use 3 columns in the system. So the mandatory columns for the spreadsheet would be the item code, the quantity, and the required date. So the line level dates are only really looking at the shipping date as well. So if anybody wants to connect with me offline, and if anyone would like me to help them with the formatting, I'll gladly help, talk about, provide that document.
Awesome. Thank you. And just a couple more. What happens if there's an inventory stock problem? Will it allow you to continue to import?
That's a really great question. Whoever answered that, well done. Great question. So you will get it won't stop you from importing the lines into the contract, but what it will do is it will pop up a message on the screen to say that you have an inventory problem and would you like to resolve it. So you can actually then kick on from there and resolve that stock problem, whether that's then pushing out to create a purchase order and expedite, getting the stock in. There are ways in which we can have that import lines feature tell a user that they are likely now to have a stock problem.
Awesome. And our final question, and feel free if there's any other questions to continue to put them in the Q&A box, but the one we have is the file format for import lines something you have to pay for?
No. And the feature itself is available to everybody today in standard system. And I have as you saw in the demonstration, I have a document already formatted. So I'll gladly share it with anybody that wants it. Just let us know after the webinar here, and I'll get it distributed out to anyone.
All right. Thank you, Jimmy. And before we wrap up today, I just wanted to share a couple of resources for the group. We have the Emerald User Group, which is an awesome group that meets bi-monthly to share project insights, address challenges, enhance operations through collective knowledge. We also have a group on Showpad where we can all communicate monthly with project updates. And then, we have our bi-monthly call. So we have our QR code here. You can scan to join the group. And then we'll also have a link in the chat where you can request to join the Emerald user group. And then we have our rental result monthly newsletter that we started up last year. And this is a great resource to stay up to date on all things construction and specialty rental, from the latest industry news and product education to webinar alerts, product roadmap insights, and our newest blog articles. So again, to subscribe to the newsletter, you can scan the QR code, and there'll also be a link in the chat. And then we have our monthly webinars. We'll be doing these every month for the rest of the year. So our next one coming up in February is all about transforming your fleet management. So you can go ahead, and if this interests you, register for it using the QR code, and there'll also be a link in the chat. And that's what we have today. So thank you again for joining us, and we're looking forward to our next webinar, where we'll be talking all things fleet management with Farah and Jimmy. And that's all. So have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. And yeah, we'll speak to you all soon.